Hi, I'm Stefan Null. Welcome back to Visual Impact series of tests. Today I'm going to be testing the Canon C300 against the Sony F5. I'm going to look at the overexposed tests where I have taken a base stop of 5.6 on both cameras, once again compensating with the NDs, ND3 on the C300, ND9 on the Sony F55, and I have gone 3 stops overexposed. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the Canon C300 at 3 stops overexposed. As you can see, even with a LUT applied, I don't really have anything in the exposure range, especially past 18% gray on the chart. It's totally gone, and on my color spectrum, it's totally gone. Okay, if I comparatively now, even in the standard without a LUT applied, move across to the Sony F5, you can see that largely I have my grayscale there, and I have my whole full color spectrum still visible. In other words, it's handing on the range. If we look at the RGB parade, you can see we are really overexposed, where the black level is sitting here at about over 50%, as can be seen over here. Once again, we go to the C300, really overexposed, except that the only scales that I'm seeing are the black. I've lost a lot of my white here, and I've lost my whole color spectrum over here. Okay, if I now take the Canon C300, if we're looking at our histogram on the corner here, we will see we have nothing towards the black side of the color of the light spectrum, absolutely nothing. If you look at my scales underneath here, representation on the histogram, from 50% gray onwards, we have nothing. Okay, right, so now I'm going to just take the image as it is, and I'm going to pull the master gains down. Please keep an eye on the RGB parade over here, and you'll see as I bring, sorry, if you turn the grade on, as I bring my levels down, my whole white level collapses, follows the rest of the parade, and I really have nothing to speak of inside this image. Okay, similarly in the gammas, I can pull it down as much as I want. I still have nothing. I'm starting to see the green block, but the rest of it is totally gone. I have really nothing in this image. Even if we reset this and we go into our levels, which is our pre-gains and our offset levels for exposure, in my pre-gains I can pull it as much as I want. If you look at the scale on the histogram, I'm pulling it towards the black end. Nothing to speak of. The same on the offsets. Okay, so in layman's terms, overexposing the 3C100 by even 3 stops leaves you nothing to play with. In other words, you can never gain back in these images. It really doesn't handle overexposure at all. Okay, moving along to the Sony F5, you can see even at its base level, I am seeing more of my grayscale. So past the 50% gray, I'm still seeing the next 3 blocks. I can see my whole color spectrum, even without a LUT applied. If we apply the S-curve to this, you'll see it doesn't really gain me much in terms of exposure, but I have a better range here, and in terms of my color representation, I still have. If we turn our stats on, you can see I'm sitting with a bit more detail towards past the 50% gray area, as can be seen here in the histogram. And if you look at the RGB parade, I'm reading a lot more, especially in these areas here, which can be seen over here, than I did on the C300. Okay, similarly now I'm going to just pull the master gains down, and as I come down, you can see I'm gaining quite a bit on the Sony F5. Although my whole RGB parade is collapsing, my white level is now sitting at about 65%, but I do have something in there. Okay, same with the gamma. If I bring the gammas down and I stretch the parade a bit, you can see that how much more I am gaining. Look, I did lose my last 3 blocks, but there's a lot more in this image, right? Similarly, if I just reset this and I go to the levels, the pre-gain levels, if I bring the whole pre-gain down on the F5, you can see how much more I'm gaining back. Even if we take the curve, stretch it a bit, you can see there's a lot more in this image. So, in conclusion, I would just like to show you, just on a basic gamma curve, on the master gamma curve, pulling them down. If I take the center point on a C300 and I pull it down to see what detail, you can see the black starting to appear, but look at the artifacts that I'm getting here in terms of color. This really demonstrating the 10-bit color space, I've got nothing really to play with. I've had to bottom the whole curve out to try and get you something. Similarly, let's take the Sony F5, same bottom out, and see the amount of detail that's being represented. So in this conclusion, what I can say is I can say that the Sony F5 handles overexposure a lot better than the Canon C300.